Great to see all of you. This room terrifies me because I gave the absolute worst best man speech here. I will never forget it. And everyone's like, oh, that was such a great speech. I'm like, oh, really? You know? And then I turn to my wife. I'm like, was my speech good? She goes, it was terrible. On that note, I'd like to welcome you all to Pacific Club Presents. This is the next installment of an amazing event series that we've put together, the brainchild of Tom Gibson and Larry Armstrong, my mentor, and it wouldn't be possible without Kevin Maloney, my partner in the IEC, for bringing this to reality. I'd also like to give recognition to Tom's wife, Lisa, that's with us today. Thank you for joining us. It's an awesome honor to be here today among such an esteemed group of leaders, innovators, and thought leaders. First, I'd like to, again, extend my deepest appreciation to Kevin. He's got his own business going with iTrust, and together we put these great ideas together for events and bringing you all together. We are a group of dynamic leaders across industry that foster collaboration and drive real innovation in business. We dominate. It's a word that Larry taught me. He goes, you're a dominator. I'm like, yeah, I know other dominators, so let's bring them all in a room together and see how far we can go with these things. Amanda Gort with our team is here. Amanda is here to provide you with an application to IEC if this is of interest to you and you like this sort of thing. In today's world where technology, business, and global markets are evolving at a rapid pace, especially under new admin, okay? You see what's going on in Washington every second on your feed. It's us that has connection to those individuals and those leaders and those decision makers. Every one of you, your business, someone in your family, someone wants access and knowledge, and that's what we're here to provide to you. The exchange of ideas, partnerships, and opportunities for mentorship also create a unique environment for us, the IEC. So it's not always about us, it's about the young people, the next generation. And when I started Gen X 20 years ago with Paul Macarishian, him and I both talked about that. How do we make an impact not just on ourselves and our community, but the next generation? To this day, it's our mission. And you see a lot of young people in the room. Those are our invited guests that we're hosting for lunch, and we're hoping to pass the torch their way. And one of those distinguished leaders in the IEC is Dr. Jin Lee, who we have the honor of being in her presence. And Dr. Jin Lee and LVIS as an organization share that same commitment on thought leadership. It's why platforms like IEC are so important, because innovation does not happen in isolation. It happens when great minds come together, challenge conventional thinking, and collaborate toward meaningful progress. So as we engage today, I encourage each of you to seize the opportunities before us, share your expertise, and explore new ways we can work together, creating lasting impact. So turn to your right and left, talk to the people around you, and get to know what they do and see how you can help and collaborate. I'd be remiss not to mention Tion, Shay, Stephanie, Jason Crane, Amanda, Codazen, Karen Ringer, Tom Gibson, Larry Armstrong, Joe Gatto, Tommy. There's a whole, there's as many people working behind the scenes to make 2 hours happen than the people that are here. So this is one true family working together, and it's a great honor. I'd also like to just share a couple slides on the IEC so it gives you guys some context as to who we are, and then I'm going to introduce today's amazing speaker. So again, we're a thought leadership organization. This might be somewhat repetitive to people that were here at last month's event, but Palmer Luckey, who I interviewed right here on stage 2 years ago, is building a $30 billion startup here in Orange County. And it's members like that that are part of the IEC that are sharing their innovation and opportunities with all of you. Beyond that, we had Dr. Frank Luntz, who has the modern Smithsonian at his home in Brentwood that he took us through. I won't mention the fact that he has Monica Lewinsky's dress in there as well. We got to hold $1 million with Henry Walker. That was pretty cool. And then Michael Colglazer from Virgin Galactic talking to us about what space travel and that whole generation is all about. And then, of course, being in Mar-a-Lago, I was just talking to David Nazarek's wife about that incredible opportunity. These things get thrown together, too. That was like 5 days before that event. I got a call from those people. And they said, hey, we got 20 seats. Who do you want to invite? And literally, I sent out 21 texts. So think about that one sucker that didn't go, because that was unbelievable. We're still pinching ourselves over it. So we had David Sachs there, Type 1 Ventures, Kathy Woods talking about all the leading innovations coming into the marketplace. And one of those is Valor Atomics. So we had Isaiah Taylor, 26-year-old dropout that created the the leading edge nuclear company that is based here in Hawthorne. In fact, we're going to be doing their grand opening in 2 days. If any of you guys want to go, I will tell you right now, they hired the same people that Elon Musk hired to unveil the Cybertruck. It's going to be one of those kind of events. So if you'd like to attend, let me know. We have about 200 people in media that are coming to this. But we all know that AI and quantum, it's going to max out. Amazon, Microsoft, they're talking about how they've hit the limit. So you need different forms of energy. Solar and the grid are just not cutting it, and that's why nuclear is a viable option. Last week when I was in Switzerland with my family, we were on a train going from Zurich to Zermatt, and there's a huge nuclear facility there, okay? So if the Swiss get it, why are we so lagging behind? So these are the kind of things that you need to be aware of, and we're sitting right in the center of it. We're also honored to have Senator Bernie Moreno. And these are people that are calling us to host events for them, okay? So this is the gentleman who's creating legislation around digital currency and crypto. And beyond that, all these new formative industries that are of value. He's going to be here at the Pacific Club on March 20th. So if any of you would like to come, that'll be our next Pacific Club Presents event. And it's followed with a whole cadre of other amazing ideas. And these things happen like on the fly. From Larry Armstrong, my mentor, who'll be doing on layered leadership. Gorky with City of Hope, attacking cancer. I mean, this is the guy who's doing all the tech behind everything from vaccinations to treatments. And he's going to be right here talking to me about how he's attacking all cancers. Kevin Maloney with I Trust Capital and crypto. Along with the Heritage Foundation. World Affairs Council reached out to us. They want to do a space program, and we're talking about the top of space. You could pretty much figure out who that is. And then AI panel and future growth. I always put photos of people I want to speak, and then they end up saying yes. So that's my hope with David Sachs. So we'll see what happens there, because he's going to see this probably on YouTube. And with that, I wanted to just transition to the introduction of our amazing speaker. I've met few people like Jin Lee, and I think anyone who meets her is immediately like transformed, either in a group setting or one-on-one. It's amazing. You know what? Every single table here is absolutely full too, except for table number 4. So that's just like so cool to like see from this perspective. They could actually all be invisible. I have no idea if that's like AI or if that's really happening. Sir, please sit at table 4. Okay? So with that, Dr. Jin Lee, PhD, is an associate professor of neurology and neurological sciences, bioengineering, neurosurgery, and electrical engineering at Stanford University and the founder of LVIS. Dr. Lee received her bachelor's degree from Seoul National University and a master's and doctoral degree from Stanford, all in electrical engineering, and is a visionary neuroscientist. Dr. Lee has devoted her career to addressing the complexities of brain disorders, including groundbreaking technologies. She's been recognized with numerous prestigious awards for her groundbreaking contributions to research, innovation, and healthcare. Her accolades include major funding and early career recognition from the National Institutes of Health, National Science Foundation, and Alzheimer's Association. She has also received distinguished awards from organizations recognizing her impact on tech and medical advancements. Most recently, I had the opportunity to introduce Jin Lee to senior members of the admin. This was at Mar-a-Lago in between courses of dinner, including Dr. Oz and RFK Jr., as well as the Trump family. And that was invaluable. And then a few weeks later, we reconnected at the inauguration, and that was just as special with the people we met and the opportunities that we had together. So without further ado, if you could please join me in welcoming Dr. Jin Lee.
Can you hear me? Yes. Thank you very much for the introduction, Sinan, and thank you all for having me here today. It's a great pleasure and honor to talk to you today about some of the work that I've done over the years. And where is the slide? Oh, here you go. So LVIS is a company that I founded. It's called LVIS, and it stands for Live Visualization of Brain Circuits. And I'll tell you a little bit more about what that means. So our slogan is see the invisible. The brain is completely invisible to us now, where when you have a disorder, when you're worried that maybe you have Alzheimer's, there's absolutely nothing you can do, where what you go and do in the clinic is just have conversations with doctors. And so one of the main problems that I identified as we need to solve is that it is critical to directly measure how the brain circuit elements communicate, and that means being able to create a digital twin of the brain. So just to introduce myself further, I am the founder of this company. I am also a professor at Stanford, and I was trained as an electrical engineer all throughout my career. And it's around the time when I finished my PhD at Stanford that my grandmother had a stroke. I actually remember the day when that happened, and I remember being in church crying. And that's when I first was introduced to brain disorders. And to my surprise, I was studying electrical engineering. I thought engineering was really cool, but to my surprise, that day on, I learned that there is absolutely nothing you can do about brain disorders. Even if you have a lot of money or a lot of power, there's really nothing you can do because they have absolutely no solution. And so she was bedbound for about 12 years after that. From her stroke, she lost right side of her body's all motor function. And she was bedbound for 12 years. She needed assistance in everything she did. And then she passed away after 12 years. And so during that time, it was really painful to watch your family members suffer like that. And as an electrical engineer, I decided I want to tackle this problem myself. And one of the main things that I realized in my journey trying to understand why we cannot solve this problem, which is a really, really important problem, I went around and asked everyone, because I was an electrical engineer, why don't we analyze the circuit of the brain and see what's wrong and just fix it? Because the only thing the doctors did for my grandmother was do rehabilitation therapy. That's not really therapy. It's just, you know, your phone is broken and you just keep pressing the button until maybe it works. And so that was my motivation. And based on that, we started research. And that led to 15 years of research, which then led to the founding of LVIS. And LVIS, since this is a company where we took all the research from my lab and translated it into something that we can put into the clinic, it was early on supported by various Stanford programs and also Epilepsy Foundation, because this was our first product was on epilepsy. And so just to get into the brain disorder a little bit, brain health care is a growing concern. Every day there's more brain disorders. And so neurodegenerative disease like Alzheimer's disease is growing exponentially. Neurodevelopmental disorders like autism is also growing exponentially, where in 1970 it was 1 in 10,000. Now it's 1 in 36. And so it's growing exponentially. Also, infectious disease like COVID, when it's severe, it is shown to lead to brain disorders. And so it's #1 cause of disability worldwide. There's about 1 billion patients estimated, but I'm sure that estimate is smaller than the actual number because diagnosing brain disorders is also extremely difficult. And the cost is tremendous. It's about $1 trillion a year for the US, but this must be an old number by now. And so, because this is such a tremendous problem, there has been efforts on the government level to try and address it. And in the US, there has been this brain initiative. Also, NIH generally funds a lot of research in brain disorders, but the US took the approach of focusing on giving some technology focus, and so the brain initiative really focused on funding different technologies to see what can work with brain disorders. On the other hand, in Europe, they funded single project, not a whole lot for one project, it's a big project, where the main focus there was creating the model of the brain, as in creating the digital twin of the brain. So it is the same purpose of my own research, but this project ran for about 10 years and it didn't really work. And in the UK also there was a lot of effort around the brain disorders. But in conclusion, there was a lot of effort, but to date there is no clear solution. So, as I mentioned before, my conclusion was that without being able to create a digital twin of the brain, you can't really do anything. It's not, do we really need this or not? Without that, you're not going to get anywhere. And so my goal was to indeed make this model of the brain, but I took a very different approach from, like, let's say the Blue Brain or the Human Brain Project in Europe. I took the approach that I thought was right based on my education in electrical engineering. So to get this project running, of course, we need support. And so one of the things I did in the research lab as a professor was apply for funding, mostly to NIH. And luckily, a lot of different projects were funded, and all of them were little bits and pieces of projects, but it was all aimed at diagnosing and treating brain disorders. And so I started from being an outsider where you're an electrical engineer, what do you know about the brain, to being able to win the NIH Director's Pioneer Award, which is the most prestigious award in the space. And so using all of that research effort, what we were able to do at the end of these 15-year journey was I was able to create a digital twin that can replicate brain function, also uncover mechanisms underlying it, because once you can make a model of it, it means you understand how it gets there. And then once we had that, we could also make predictions of therapeutic outcome. And with that, we also investigated how brain function and pathology, because it's often talked about in brain disorders that you have amyloid plaques, there's various pathology that resides in your brain. We also investigated that relationship, and we found out that brain function and pathology has very close relationship. And then we combined that with also genes, drug therapy relationship, where we are starting to get a very comprehensive picture of how the brain works. So deep tech, wow, it takes a long time. And so what we have done was take a completely different approach from ground up, and it took about 15 years of basic science research. And also around 5 years into my research, I realized, you know what, this is working. This approach, trying to understand the circuitry top down using electrical engineering principles, I was pretty convinced that this works. And so around that time, because my goal was to deliver solutions to the clinic, not really just publish papers, I decided to found this company using my own money from my assistant professor salary. And I founded this company, and it has been 10 years in development to get all the ducks in a row, and we have just launched our products. We mostly get really excited about technology that is very visible to the public, like ChatGPT. But for something like that to come, it takes decades of work. And what we are very proud that we decided to take this ground up, where we went all the way to very basic research to commercialization, and we are starting to see the fruit of our effort. So to kind of summarize that effort, in the science aspect, we spent 15 years in my lab and then created an IP platform. Then we also did development of the software, which has web-based infrastructure, cloud-based database, AI-based automation, clinician-friendly software interface, community algorithm, store capability, marketplace functionality. And then we combined it with clinical data, which was very difficult to get access to, where we have hospital system data collected. We also created the NeuroMatch service, so now also data is coming in from our own services. And so with that, we were able to create our product. And to tell you about the roadmap, it's been about 10 years in the making, the pre-commercial development stage. And then now we're at phase 2. Last year, end of last year, we launched our first product. And so we are in the process of deploying the product. And phase 3, in the future, what we are expecting is that once this kind of information hits the ground, what we are going to be able to do is really streamline all the different neurological exams and be able to predict what kind of therapy has what effect. Furthermore, having a goal precisely defined, it's very easy to also identify new ways to treat brain disorders. And so we can have pharmaceutical developments, we can also establish this as a standard of care. And our starting point was in epilepsy, but we are also working on Alzheimer's, sleep, Parkinson's, autism. These are some of the examples of what we are working on, but brain disorders all need to be addressed with the same approach. And so ultimately, we envision expanding this approach to all brain disorders. So we talked about some of the science and our commercial approach, but one thing I explained to you earlier, that the brain disorder is exponentially growing. We also don't know how to diagnose or treat any of them. Then another very important problem that arises is that the medical system is completely overloaded. And so even though if you go see the doctor, they can't do much of anything for you, it's also extremely difficult to see the doctor. And so I am part of the neurology department. And so one day in 2023, my chairman comes to faculty meeting and goes, you know what? We have to do anything and everything to increase throughput of our patients because we simply cannot handle all the patient load. And so that is a huge problem in the medical system right now. So if we are to define the problems in the medical system, there are three main, very important problems. One is there is extreme shortage of specialists. And so it's very difficult to see the doctor, and the doctors are really overloaded. And the cost is extremely high because whatever they're doing is all manual, and it's very difficult. It takes years of training, and you still cannot do it very well oftentimes. And so that's that. And then the outcome is not good because even with all of that effort, it's very difficult to understand exactly what the brain is doing. And so our solution was to make AI-based automation, also make the solution completely web-based, which means it's very easy to deploy, and then utilizing the 15 years of science of creating the digital twin, we can now take the information, make it quantitative, visualize what's happening in the brain, and then use it for diagnosis and therapeutics development. And so what this will allow you to do is raise the bar of care everywhere. And also, it will allow a small number of doctors to really work together across the globe to address this crisis. And having this digital twin technology, we can also start to treat brain disorders in a meaningful way instead of just pouring money and not having any outcome. This is a short video demonstrating our first product's capability, and I'll just play it quickly.
The global healthcare system faces a significant challenge, an aging population leading to a surge in brain-related diseases. Conditions such as Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, autism, and epilepsy are becoming major concerns worldwide. These brain disorders can be difficult to diagnose and treat, creating an immense burden for healthcare systems across the globe. In the case of epilepsy, treatments are available. However, accurate diagnosis is crucial for effective intervention to alleviate patient suffering. In many cases, this diagnosis begins with the interpretation of EEG electroencephalogram. Unfortunately, this process faces several significant barriers. First, there is a shortage of trained specialists and technicians, making it difficult to obtain and read an EEG. Second, the process of EEG interpretation is time-consuming, complex, and often lacks the desired accuracy for confident diagnosis. Lastly, EEG data tends to be lost over time, making it difficult to track over the course of a patient's treatment journey. NeuroMatch is designed to address these challenges through an all-in-one platform powered by AI automation. It enables fast, simple, and accurate EEG analysis. With its web-based solution, NeuroMatch allows medical professionals to access and analyze EEG data anytime, anywhere, ensuring convenience and flexibility. It facilitates seamless collaboration among doctors across different regions, breaking down geographical barriers. By incorporating advanced 3D brain mapping and source analysis, NeuroMatch can detect spike and seizure locations, providing doctors with highly accurate and actionable insights for improved patient care. To meet the diverse needs of healthcare providers, NeuroMatch offers three powerful solutions. NeuroMatch Access provides the foundation for modern EEG analysis. Manage and view your EEG data through the cloud, enabling health checks and expert EEG reading anytime, anywhere. Essential tools include artifact reduction, QEEG analysis, and automatic report generation. The platform enables seamless collaboration through role-based access, while longitudinal reporting tracks changes over time. Perfect for the outpatient setting, ensuring your practice is connected and efficient. Unlock the power of FDA-cleared AI detection with NeuroMatch Pro. Including all access features plus AI-based seizure and spike detectors, Pro automatically identifies neurological events with unprecedented accuracy. Comprehensive reports with seizure and spike details are automatically added for easy interpretation. Designed for epilepsy patient diagnosis and long-term treatment tracking, Pro allows flexible switching between Pro and access level analysis to suit your needs. Pro is ideal for the busy inpatient and outpatient neurology practice or healthcare system focused on comprehensive patient care. NeuroMatch Elite brings cutting-edge source analysis to your practice. Building on all Pro features, Elite adds powerful 3D source analysis for seizures and spikes. Visualize seizure origins and spike patterns with stunning clarity, providing essential tools for surgical planning and patient education. Seamlessly switch between Elite, Pro, and Access analysis levels to match your workflow needs. Perfect for comprehensive epilepsy centers, Elite gives you the advanced visualization and analysis tools needed to manage the most complex cases. Every NeuroMatch tier includes our powerful near real-time streaming capability. Monitor patients in the EMU or ICU with instant access to ongoing recordings, and automated alerts adding an extra layer of support and continuous EEG monitoring. Critical events are identified and communicated immediately, ensuring rapid response when it matters most. Whether you're performing routine monitoring, continuous EEG, or planning surgical interventions, NeuroMatch has a solution designed for you. With flexible analysis levels within each tier, you can always work the way you need to. Contact us today to discover which NeuroMatch tier best fits your practice.
Thank you for watching the video. And so I just showed you a video of the first product we're releasing. What it does is completely streamlines all the workflow, automates, and also shows you what happens inside the brain related to a particular disorder, in this case, epilepsy. And when you are able to see what goes inside the brain, there's almost nothing you can't do. And what we are envisioning for the future is that we will be able to provide regular health checks quantitatively regarding your brain status. Then also, if you find some problem in the regular screening, you can then have detailed diagnosis, possibly at the actual neurological clinics. And then once you identify the problem, because the problem is actually the goal, when you identify which part of the brain has problems, restoring that brain function is the goal of therapy. And so designing the therapy is actually related to discovering the problem itself. And so you can then have effective treatment for the problems you identify. And so NeuroMatch, once again, is a platform that takes all the data in, analyze it, generate reports. The workload of like 20 people staff can be done 24 hours, anytime, anywhere. And so it really empowers the medical doctors to have this solution. And as I mentioned, you can do brain health monitoring. Right now, if you feel like you want to monitor your brain health status, I'm starting to forget things, is this really a problem? There's no way to do it. But now that we have this very convenient platform to quantify them, we are also now providing brain health check services. And so we've launched this product first in South Korea, because in South Korea, people do yearly checkups, mandatory, in health check centers. And so this has now been adopted into health check centers. And so we are able to monitor a specific person's brain health status on various metrics over time. And as I mentioned, this is an approach that can be applied to all brain disorders. We started with epilepsy. We are working on Alzheimer's, sleep, Parkinson's, autism, but this will also be extended to many other brain disorders. And as I mentioned again, a very important part of it is that you can directly visualize what's happening. That means you can guide drug discovery based on this. So this patient has this part of the network malfunctioning. We need to restore that brain function. That means you can directly target that for drug discovery. And also, one of the things that I learned recently, I thought drug discovery cost was about $1 billion per drug. But I recently went to a drug conference, and I've learned that now it's $6 billion per drug. And that is not a sustainable model. But that is because you make large pipelines of it, and then you do very tedious process for clinical trial. But having a direct target that's very easy to interpret, also during clinical trials, you can evaluate things faster at a lower cost, and the information is very predictive, which means you can do this at a much lower cost, extremely fast. And also, once you have this type of analysis tool, It doesn't only mean that you can get diagnosis, you can use it to make therapeutics, but also when you need the therapeutics, it will also help you figure out which therapeutics is best suited for you. And so since this is a platform that is going to be changing a lot of the different practice across neurological clinics and provide information that wasn't available before, we are also starting education programs. And the tool can be directly used to educate various medical professionals. And so we're starting to create the NeuroMatch Institute Clinic, where physicians, nurses, technicians can be trained. And as part of it, one of the technician schools in South Korea reached out to us, which is a school that educates about 500 students a year. And we will be providing the training on this platform for all the technicians to be able to read and understand data using our platform. And the NeuroMatch Institute in the US, the first one, we are in the process of building it out in our headquarters in Palo Alto, and that is in the works. Our headquarters is in Palo Alto. We also have a Seoul office. Seoul and Daegu are two different cities in South Korea. And we are also in the process of developing therapeutics with clues that are identified with this NeuroMatch process. And what this will allow is high throughput cost reduction with improved outcome. And our clients, so to speak, will be for various education, healthcare providers, payers and insurance companies, because we can dramatically decrease their cost. And also, if you are a new drug device company, this is how you can evaluate them. And so that will be very helpful in reducing the cost and speed of development. And individuals, ultimately, we want to provide a solution for individuals to be able to check their brain every morning and get a sense of, you know what, maybe I need to go to the hospital or not. Or maybe today I'm going to refrain from drinking and then do some more exercise. And so having this information in multiple layers can help all the way from actually developing serious therapeutics to maintaining your health on a day-to-day basis. And so that is what we are envisioning. And the current status of brain health care system overall is total chaos. There are so many patients, there's nothing you can do, everything is manual. It's like internet without any search engines. But now with NeuroMatch, what we can do is systematically start to peel all the different layers and provide solutions. And so we expect that this to be able to completely transform how our medical system operates around caring for brain disorders. And this will allow integrated and scalable care. And with the shortage of staff, this is a big problem worldwide, not just in the United States. And so through various seminars I gave in various settings, there were people from various countries who also wanted the solution. And so we just launched in the United States, in South Korea, and we just passed the regulatory hurdle for deploying it to Europe and Japan and other countries. There's a common regulatory path that allows us to pass. Once we're past that, there are very short processes in each individual country. So we are planning to deploy worldwide. And barriers to competition. This was a barrier for us too, where it took a really long time. We built an array of patents from UCLA. I was actually a professor at UCLA for 2 years. And so from UCLA, Stanford, and our LVIS original patents we have all the patents exclusively because this is a field that I built ground up. We are also a first mover in the field, and we had 10 years of development required due to the complexity of the product itself. And also it comes with regulatory hurdles, and we've just cleared FDA, MFDS, and ISO 13485. And this is also a very data-centric work, and so data size matters, and we are now starting to be the center of a lot of these data. And so LVIS NeuroMatch innovation, if I could be a little bit bold, the innovation that I envision is that we are the owner of the original digital twin technology and also the first mover to make clinical solutions out of it. And we are the first mover and pioneer for the digital twin database. And it's like 23andMe for genetics. They started building the genetic database, but a lot of people can start to build it, whereas the digital twin database is very difficult to make happen, even if you wanted to start that right now. And also, it is an all-in-one cloud platform-based technology that is infinitely scalable, like having the Apple iPhone, where once you had the platform, you can add a lot of different features very easily. And then we also are moving in as an e-commerce for medical device. So all of our products are designed so that it is very compatible with all the high-tech IT platforms. And then this is an essential technology for new therapy development and therapeutic efficacy evaluation. So this is going to be a very essential step in making the next step towards treating brain disorders. And one thing I would like to end with is that I initially started this research because I wanted to address brain disorders. But we now understand a lot of algorithms behind how the brain works, which means also that we can use that to design next generation AI. Because while we are really, really excited about AI these days, the current AI is extremely energy inefficient. And that is not a sustainable form of AI. It's also not as smart as me. All of us are smarter than any AI out there. And that is because it is built on more basic principles. But understanding the brain, you can start to also enable energy efficient and smarter AI. And so we are also in the process of developing next generation AI algorithms. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay.
Oh, and we have a YouTube channel. Please subscribe.
We will send a copy of this video to everyone just to review afterwards. So I have a couple questions for you, Dr. Lee, and then I will open it up to the audience for them to ask any questions as well. So just in layman's terms, how does LVIS technology work? Can you break it down in simple terms for those unfamiliar with AI-driven decision intelligence?
So LVIS technology is built on this digital twin technology, which we are the original inventors of. And so it utilizes a lot of that. But also, in the clinic, there are lots of manual processes. And so we've used AI to automate everything that is manual and then combined it with this digital twin technology, which allows both streamlining of all the medical process, reducing costs and time, and scaling resources, while also taking another step forward to be able to actually address brain disorders.
Can you share a success story where LVIS significantly improved an organization's decision-making process?
That's a great question. We are now starting to really change a lot of the ways that these exams are done. Where, for example, for companies that do monitoring of brain function, they have to take the data manually, upload it for tens of hours through a very tedious process. They have to find the doctor who's available to read the data and then give a report that says, okay, it's abnormal or abnormal. But now with NeuroMatch, what this means is as soon as we hook it up to the data stream, it's fully analyzed and gives the whole information in a matter, like almost in real time, which means the accessibility to this process is completely transformed. Not only does it give more information, the whole process is transformed in a way that speed, accessibility, and costs are at a completely different scale.
And what industries benefit the most from LVIS technology? Do you see new markets opening up in the near future?
That's a great question. So what we have tried to do is to deliver this completely new technology in a way that can be delivered into the current medical system with as least resistance as possible. And so it is able to transform existing field of neurological healthcare, but at the same time, it opens up cases of use that never existed before. Because how are you going to find, for example, a neurologist to do these tedious analysis that requires hours of analysis and see if your brain is kind of okay or not? So most of you will never have access to that technology because the staff shortage is such that that's never going to happen. Also, the cost never really pans out. But now, these are all automated. You can just go get tests at a local center. We open maybe in Pacific Club, you know? And so the level in which it can change the way we do things is really groundbreaking, where your imagination is the limit because it ranges from health checks and treatments to how we can rethink the payment structures of the medical system. And so we are in a crisis with all the costs. And that is something that we can also do. So we work with insurance companies. We work with various educational institutes. And so when you have information regarding the brain, there are many, many applications that really can be impacted. And so
what's the biggest challenge in scaling your business, and how do you overcome that?
I mean, early on, the biggest challenge was that the idea that only sat inside my own head, getting the team to understand what that is and getting through that was difficult at first. Another thing that was difficult was, we had to get clinical data to validate everything, and getting access to clinical data was extremely difficult and slow. Then we had to clear all the regulatory hurdles. That was really slow. Combine all of that with, we have to be able to pay for everything, which was very difficult. But now we're at the stage where the only limitation is perhaps having enough resources to be able to accelerate and scale.
So obviously AI has its ethical dimension as well. So in your perspective, as AI becomes more integrated into business operations, what ethical considerations do you have to keep in mind running your business?
So general AI and how it applies to NeuroMatch solutions, I think is very different. NeuroMatch is a solution designed for addressing brain disorders. There's no ethical dilemma there at all. Where it is only going to help with your brain disorder treatment, reduce cost, everything, the whole 9 yards. One ethical concern that might arise in the future is all the technology that we use to treat brain disorders can also be used to enhance your brain function. For example, where one particular brain region that we targeted to treat, for example, comatose patients. The neuromodulation that allows comatose patients to wake up, if you do that in a normal subject, we find out that they never get tired and then stay concentrated forever and ever. And so, okay, that's interesting, where everything that is a treatment can also be used as an enhancement tool, in which case that might become an ethical dilemma, but we're very far from that.
So along the lines of AI, where do you see AI evolving over the next 5 to 10 years as it relates to healthcare in your business?
AI is going to be, in the current form of AI already, I think healthcare will be dramatically transformed. A lot of medical procedures are manual, and that means it's prone to errors, and it's also very costly if people do it. And so in the spirit of making it efficient, fast, and more accurate, AI will play a very critical role. At the same time, I believe healthcare should be delivered by people. And so what it will do is it will completely change the way the doctor interacts with you. It will still be delivered by doctors, but it will be done in a way that they're assistant with perfect information. Like, knowledge is power. What they can do when they know what to do with you is completely different from having to guess everything. And so I think AI will start to change that landscape where there will be much less guessing game, and there will be precise information to act on.
Great. I'm going to end with 2 more questions, and then I'll open it up to the audience. Anyone who could stump Dr. Jin Lee, I will be buying a tequila shot for, because we have a full bar right over there. So what's next for you, the next chapter in your evolution? What's important to you? How can we support you?
I've spent 15 years building this. A lot of people come to me and go like, wow, you're like really brave if you stuck to this problem for 15 years. Yes, it was very hard. It wasn't easy. It was a very, very difficult journey. But the reason why I could stick to it was because I really believed in it. I knew it was going to work. At the same time, I also realized if I don't do it, nobody else is going to do it. And so that was the reason why I could stick to it, and I felt obligation to stick to it. Now, like, we've reached a stage after 15 years effort where we can start to really make a difference in the real clinic, in people's lives. But there's still a long ways to go. We just got this one product which is actually going to really transform how epilepsy care is done, and also we can provide general health checks to people. But we actually know how to do all of these other disorders. We know how to develop therapeutics. We really need to now enter a different phase of acceleration. And to do that, we, of course, need various resources to be able to move forward.
Great. And we have a room full of next-generation entrepreneurs. What advice would you give for them as they build their businesses and potentially AI businesses? Any advice?
I have 2 particular advice. One is AI is amazing. There are lots of things you can do that you couldn't before with AI. And there are lots of different applications where you can start to make a difference right now. And if you are fast, quick, you know what to do, you should just go for it. At the same time, I believe current AI is not the ultimate form that we're going to use going forward. It's energy efficiency, it's pretty primitive. If you give a very specific task, it can do it very well. But in the current form, you can't scale it up to the way that we want to go if you want to have a more general purpose AI that can do things that we imagine doing as humans. And so that generation of AI is also in the works, and this current form is not going to be the end of it. And so being prepared for the next round of AI is also something that's going to be important to keep an eye out for.
Great. So with that, I'm going to open this up to the audience to ask questions. If you can just, after I call you, just stand up, say who you are, your question. I'm going to repeat it, and then she's going to answer it. Why don't we start with Kevin?
Hi, Dr. Lee. Thanks for coming. Kevin Maloney. Quick question. It's one thing to read the EEGs. Who has the technology, or where are we with being able to adjust the brain waves so that we can address people with anxiety, depression, insomnia, or PTSD, for example? I'm reading a little bit about the adjustment of that. Are you guys
That's a great question. So there has been various efforts to try and make like neuromodulation devices, whether it's with magnetic pulses, with electrical stimulations. All of these have been developed over the past few decades, but it's not really making a huge difference. The main reason is it's not having that device that's the end game. The end game is knowing what to do with that device. And when you don't know exactly which part of the brain needs to be adjusted how, you can't really apply them. That's why it's critical to have the knowledge of how is it messed up, or which part of the circuit do you have to alter to be able to get the desired outcome of reducing anxiety or reducing depression. That's the kind of information that NeuroMatch is going to provide. And that's why it's critical to develop new therapeutics, including neuromodulation devices or new drugs, to have this information. This information alone is not going to make the drug or make the device, but those devices and drugs without this information is also never going to get anywhere. And so now that we know what to address, we can now design them with a lot of information. Knowing is power. When you know what to do, actually executing. When you know where to go, executing that is much easier than just trying to go somewhere, and maybe that'll make me feel better.
Don Yan.
Yeah.
Hi, Don Yan. One of your kind of startling statistics I heard earlier was the increase in occurrences of brain damage or occurrences. So what would you say is attributable to our current lifestyle? Is it the cell phone against the ear, frying the brain? What do you think is causing such an increase in cases?
Yeah, I have thoughts around that. It's not something that everybody will agree or, and there are lots of debates around that in the scientific community. But I believe it relates a lot to environmental toxins, including your food. And a lot of that, I can see the scientific pathways of what is triggered to make these diseases occur. And so it is a good question. There is something driving it. But regardless of what's driving it, you need to fix it. And to do that, you need to be able to set the goal of how to restore it. The goal of brain disorder treatment is restoring brain function. Unless you can measure it, there's nothing you can do. And regarding the causes of what's bringing this, we should try our best to remove that, but most of the time we don't have control over those parameters. And so the approach that I decided to take is to deliver a way of restoring brain function.
Yes.
Hi, Vivian Brown. I just not knowing enough about this, but I wanted to ask, is it at all like 23andMe, where the more patients, the more information you get, the more the model works and the more feedback you get for us all in society in general?
That's generally true. But a lot of approaches that we take is also analytical. And so it's not just building on large data where we have approaches to look at the data. But at the same time, once you have more data, you can increase dimensions of precision. So if we are just dividing the group into normal and not normal, but then once we have more data, we can also refine it further. And so it gives more power if you have more data. That's absolutely true.
Yes.
GK Khanna, good presentation. I understand epilepsy because it's an electrical disorder of the brain. I'm curious about your strategy for Alzheimer's. You've shown a timeline of 2026, and could you just share your strategy?
Yeah, that's a really good question as well. So you're right, epilepsy is actually an electrical resonance phenomenon, and you need to look at the resonance circuits associated with that. And that was very apparent to people early on, which is why Epilepsy Clinic is the only clinic in neurology where they measure electrical activity. But, however, every single brain function relies on that electrical activity. It's not as apparent or obvious as to what to look at. At the same time, even for epilepsy, where people know that electrical abnormality is what they need to look at, right now the way they interpret it is they look at these signals on the screen and then they go, oh, starting here, it's abnormal. Oh, it's bigger, it's smaller, it's increasing in frequency, decreasing in frequency. That's what they look at. And then they go, oh, okay, this person is maybe abnormal. That's not enough information to even know how to treat epilepsy patients. You need to know precisely how the network is organized, where these are the nodes that's sustaining this activity that shouldn't exist, for example. And so you see that as an easier problem, which is why people even had this approach. That's why we also started with epilepsy. That's part of the reason why, because we can force certain measurements into the clinic when they are not used to it. But epilepsy is where people are making that measurement, and we could tell them to make the measurements better using these tools. And so that's one end of it, but regardless of whether it's epilepsy or Alzheimer's, Alzheimer's is also, you lose memory because your brain circuit function changed. But what you look for in Alzheimer's is very different from what you look for in epilepsy. In epilepsy, because those are a resonance phenomenon that happens occasionally, we look for the resonance phenomenon, and then we visualize what that network is. For Alzheimer's, what we do is we look at your baseline functional status of the brain, and we know which circuit to look at because of the fact that we've made models in very precise settings. I mean, we can't do certain things to human brains, but in our lab setting, we have done modeling where we know exactly how that circuitry works. And then from that, we look for the signatures of degeneration in the human brain.
Great. We have time for like maybe 2 or 3 more questions. Joshua.
Joshua Dominic, really cool with the roadmap what you got here. Am I thinking about this correctly? That like the end game here is that everybody in this room, well everybody that gets
In and out, yeah. Inside and outside.
Yeah, everybody that goes in for like a physical, in the same way you get a blood test, you might get a brain scan, so you can start catching.
Absolutely. So how I envision it is, you know, starting now, frequently, you should go check out what your brain status is. And then if it looks off, you go for a more detailed test in a neurology clinic. And then if there's something wrong, you get treated. Furthermore, we're thinking more into the future that's not available right now, but what we want to do is also enable home tests where you can just check it out every day, see how you're doing.
Great. Yes.
Yes, hi, Jane Herring with World Affairs Council. This is all obviously amazing and incredible.
Thank
but
you.
I always worry about with any new technology, the long-term ethical implications. You touched on it briefly, but do you have people in your company that are focused on that and being able to foresee any ethical problems down the line and preventing them?
I think as scientists, rather than delegating into any one person to think about ethical concerns, I think we all should think about it. And that's why when I give lectures to students, I always talk about the importance of value and how you need to have a good value system in deciding what you do. As I mentioned, I touched on some points that might come into play like long time into the future. But right now, I mean, we all have somebody in our lives who have brain disorders. Treating that, there's really no ethical concerns. That is a need for both our, as individuals, being able to help our family and friends, but at the same time, as a society, if we cannot control the cost and burden of brain disorders, it's a big, big problem. And so I think we're in a unique space where technology always has ethical concerns that comes with it. Like even a knife, it can be used to kill people or make food. And so every technology has that aspect, but we're fortunately in a space where ethical concern, not so much, but mostly, we need to do this fast. Thank you.
Any last question before we close, sir?
Have you been able to do the detoxification to see changes later on the NeuroMatch mapping?
That's a really good question, because there are lots of things that people are doing without the precise knowledge of if it really has an impact on the brain function, including taking supplements, etc. Now we have a platform where you can start to test that. So we are in the process of also doing, speaking of Sinan's question, we are also collaborating with industries, partners who are interested in finding answers to that.
I'll end with a couple questions on my mind. Regulatory, so looking at the new admin and some of the relationships that you made, even the comment you made on food and your relationships there, what sort of wish list would you have for the new admin and as it relates to regulatory healthcare?
The regulatory, I think, is important to have because we don't want anything to enter the market. At the same time, the way it's currently done is as if they don't really want you to make any innovations. And so being careful to make sure we care for the safety of the patients while also allowing innovation. Everything is always balancing, but right now the balance is shifted more towards blocking rather than enabling. I think there's a lot that can be done to enable progress.
And if any of you are ever up in the Bay Area, Palo Alto, you need to call her and see her lab at Stanford. It is amazing stunning. I mean, not only Stanford, but your lab, it's amazing, and all the people you have working with you for your research. It's been an absolute pleasure. Yesterday, when I work, I always have a podcast. It doesn't matter what it is, okay? So I just like whatever it suggests to me in the moment. And I was watching Mr. Beast, okay, being interviewed by this guy in the UK, and he has like 10 million followers, and it's, you know, the life of a CEO. His name's Sean Bartlett. Fantastic interview, 3.5 hours. And of it, the entire time, they're talking to this billionaire, you know, self-made YouTuber, and the entire time, the whole conversation is about mental health. And it was astonishing to me because I didn't expect that at all. I thought it was rise to fame and how he comes up with all these crazy ideas and gives away money and, you know, cures blindness and all these things. But it talked about his struggles with mental health. And I thought the most compelling question was, would you rather die with a strong body or a strong mind? And he got stumped. And he sat there silent for minutes and he couldn't answer it. And then he finally answered it. I'll let you guys watch it to see the answer, but it was amazing. And with that, I present to you Dr. Jin Lee. Thank you for coming out here. And maybe before you all applaud, could you please tell us what we're going to do here for anyone who wants to stay for the next 30 minutes, please?
Oh yeah, Sinan, when he invited me, he insisted I bring like an actual demonstration and all these TVs and everything. And so please stick around if you want to look at how NeuroMatch works. And thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. On behalf of the Pacific Club, Dr. Lee, I'd like to present you with a certificate for dinner here at the club. And
thank
hope
you.
that you'll be able to take us up on that.
Thank you so much. And I forgot to mention, the Pacific Club is like a really special place for me because this is also where I met Sinan, in the room next door. And so, yeah, when I came at that time, I didn't know I was going to meet so many wonderful people here. But since then, I think this is like my 10th visit or something. And it's been a really wonderful time. And I hope to one day become a member of the Pacific Club.
We welcome you back anytime.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cool.